G'day everyone, welcome back to Nat's Knackers Yard. I'll be Nat. This will be my Knackers Yard. This will be the XJ650 Engine Rebuild continued. Yeah, it's taken a bit of thinking, this bit, so I'm now on to the Stator. I think on the last one I was looking at how I got its torque, and I did it off camera, I think. But essentially the lock that I employed was spanner on the end. I've lost track of the words. Wedged against the bench, and then a big lever to get that to the really quite high torque. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. 39.8 foot-pounds, which I think is about 90. He says, actually, what am I set up on? Newton meters. That's about 34. If that was the last time I did it on, no, it was not. It's higher than that. It's a lot higher than that. Anyway, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's a high, high Newton meters. Can't be asked to look it up. So that's on and tight. Now I was trying to work out how to get the actual stator on itself. I was looking at, well, I'll wedge that onto there, because that's how I got it off, was unwedging it from there. Now looking at the manual quite clearly says that you install it all. Place the stator assembly in the cover, ensuring the wire grommet is fitted and slotted in, thin field of RTG compound at this point, and good seal to prevent the ingress of water. So I need to load it into here. I was then looking at this thinking, hang on, oh shit, I've lost a bit, I've lost the rubber grommet, I've lost the grommet. No, of course I haven't. There she blows, and it's got the hole for the other element, and it's silicon. So RTV, room temperature vulcanizing silicon around that. So let's get you set up, and I'll have a go at doing that, shall I? Righty ho then, let's get this show on the road. I've got my increasingly trusty 3-bond. Just putting a little bit in the hole that the actual stator comes out of. And a little bit in the actual recess itself. That keeps blocking. You swine. Any top tips, people, to how to stop sealant from blocking? Probably stick that end in a bag rather than leave it open to air. But so I'm reckoning like that. I don't want to jam it in just yet, because I'm not going to be able to get the stator cable through if that's pinched shut, I would imagine. Just some crap left on that. I didn't really clean it off beforehand. So that's the stator itself. Now I don't actually know which way in this goes. I'm assuming that away. As opposed to that away. No, actually, I'm going to hazard a guess at that away. I'm just going to have a flick back at an old video, I think. Right, and there we go. The advantage of filming what you're doing. On the outside, so it was the way that I had it to start with. Thank you, YouTube. So that is the other way up, because that wiring and gubbins is on the outside now. There we go. So I'm going to need that. Oh, this is fiddly. That to go through that gap in the grommet, hopefully without breaking it. Hopefully without getting sealant all over surfaces what don't need sealing. Trying to get everything lined up. Which does feel like trying to move things in 3 planes at the same time. I think we got it. Right. Covered in sealant. Let me get a rag. There we go. I've got the bolts. I've got a gasket. Got the gasket on the right way. Which is that way. Right, now let me move you to somewhere you can see, and you can see me cock up trying to get this on. Right, now in what is probably a first for me, it's such a lovely day outside, I've had to shut the garage door, which is a testament to my lighting in here. But with the garage door open, let me show you. Just swamps the light out. Too bright to film. There's a first. Right, so I've got the 3 bolts down there. They have had a bit of a tidy up, bit of a clean up. I think we're not far off. I'm just going to offer them through, at least a couple of them through, just to help me get my line. Now this will only go on one way. It's fucking really trashed my lovely paintwork with mucky hands, but it'll wash off, I'm sure. What a ridiculously fiddly system. But lesson learned, it needs to go on even and flat. Because the case is actually pushing the stator into the housing. Well, that was a damn sight fucking harder than it probably should have been. That's my 20 minutes maximum that I try and set myself as an upload. Just on putting the stator in. Jesus. And I've got my new paint all mucky and dirty and fingerprinty. But it's an engine, that's going to happen. So it doesn't bother me in the fucking slightest. But we're on. Right, so that's top tips for putting the stator onto a 1980 XJ650 get it flat and move it in. Now the problem I had to start with is I'd screwed the top ones too far. It pushed it on an angle, and this cover is actually pushing that stator into the frame, into the recess, and it wasn't happy. I've also noted is just below the stator and on the actual cover, I'm on my rear facing camera so it looks backwards, I need some of the electrics goes behind that case onto there, probably as an earth actually. Now mine doesn't do that yet, but we shall see. Right, back to the book, but I think it's pistons now. Let's have a look. Right, brief pause while I had to go and pick up my youngest. Then get some lunch, as you can see loitering around the back there. I lied, it's starter motor next according to the book. Now I could just skip this and come back to it, but I want to try and do it as close to the book as I can. And the reason I was going to skip it is because I haven't done anything with the starter motor yet. I did intend to check the bushes and all that sort of stuff, and at least paint it, but I will at some stage. But if you remember, I couldn't get any more of this metallic black high temp paint. Right, so the book says to tuck that away under there. Does say a bit of grease around the top actually. There we go, just a bit of a dab. I don't want to go OTT, and this is going to get refitted, I'm sure, once I track down some paint. I've taken out my bolt number 39. If you remember that saga, I thought I'd lost a bolt and realised that I'd just put it in the wrong bolt hole. Tight. Cabling out of the way. It does say to tuck the two cables under there. Job's a fish. Now, if I remember correctly, my two bolts that I have here are actually different from each other. If I can get away with that rather than use a Allen. No, it's a bit too long, which is a shame. But what I can do is just whip a tiny bit off the end on the old grinder. Is that going to take off too much of my screwing surface? Might do. Right, and there we go. I just shortened that off and chased the thread up a little bit more, so we're on nice and neat. Looks fucking awful, but I'll do something with it. But I'm keen to just follow the orders in the book. Right, and now looking at the stator. Sorry, it's calling it the stator. I call that the stator. Is that the alternator? That's the stator. Don't really know. Right, let's get you set up. On to the timing plate. This is where my knowledge gets really shaky really quickly. Right, so it can only go on one way because it's got the pointer there. So it can only go on one way. I can't get it on at all. It has to go on that way. Now, there we go. A little bit of wiggling. I'm desperately trying not to move the timing piece because I really don't understand timing, so I don't want to get it too screwed up. One, two screws holding it on. I've been very careful with this not to move it, kick it, shake it, etc., because I really don't want to mess around with it too much, because I know previously it has worked. press action. Then it's the timing plate. Now there is the little recessed bolt. You see that? There we go. Mark 1 pointer. So there's a recessed bolt there and there's a peg there and a recess there, so it will only go on one way. He says confidently. I can't find it. There we go. So it will only go on one way. Right, that makes sense. That is entirely the routing of the wiring. I see what they're after. It also says that the cover, don't put the cover on yet, because you need to sort out all your timing and stuff first. Right, prep complete. I'm not going to piss around wiring stuff together. That is next job. Oh, actually, that's the neutral. That's going to get pulled off. So that goes onto there, happy. That goes onto the neutral switch, happy. And then the wiring gets pissed around. But I need to do a bit of tidying up on some of that before I get anywhere. Right, we are now on pistons. Now we're on pistons. Engine assembly, refitting pistons and cylinders. Right, that is not today's business, and apologies if I've built this up. That's next business, because I want to give it a good read. There are various techniques that I'm aware of that I haven't done on a 4-cylinder before, and I need to have a look and I think before I approach that particular challenge, because it's all a challenge when it comes down to it. Right, that'll do me for another one all. I'm getting there. That looks fucking awful, but I'll do something with it. We're now on the big stuff, so we're now pistons and all the top end. This is the bit that I've been looking forward to, and what's left of my lunch. Cheers all, catch you later, ta-da.